Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of TCG Talk. Back today with another video. Super excited to get into this video, y'all. Today we're going to be talking about the Australian and New Zealand Nationals and kind of how they played out and what their placements were. Before we get into it, 10 seconds. I normally never do intros, and I'm not going to start. But one thing I wanted to say is I'm going to start promoting my other socials a little bit more. They'll be linked down below. If you want to check me out on Twitter, I'll put my Discord in there for the people that are in the Fab Discord and stuff like that. Just trying to interact with the community as much as I can. But getting into the video, I wanted to kind of go through this and try not to be negative, if that makes any sense at all. I think the one thing I'll say is, like, obviously going into Australian and New Zealand Nationals, right? They had the Briar errata, right? As you can see here, despite a few thorns on her side, including the functional errata and her hero ability. So basically, for anyone that wasn't aware, if you're still not aware, maybe you're a newer player, they changed Briar's ability to where instead of making as many Earth tokens as you want, you only can make one. So that applied to these tournaments as far as I'm aware. If I'm wrong, let me know, but I'm pretty sure they applied. What didn't apply was the Ball Lightning and the Plunder Run bans. And I think how this tournament shaped up is a great ammo to show that we probably shouldn't have banned the cards. There's a lot of people that are one way or another about should we have banned, should we not have banned, things of that nature. And I think that this showed that we shouldn't have banned the cards. And maybe just an errata probably was the best option, but it ended up not being. So yeah, just looking at these, right, and looking at how this went down. This was day 2 for Australian Nationals, and Briar obviously led the pack. Briar was still really popular, and with Plunder Run and Ball Light not being banned, she's still a very strong hero, even with the errata. So it's no surprise that she led the pack for day 2 for New Zealand and Australian. But as you can see, I mean, even me being in the US, right, I'm not an idiot to say that New Zealand and Australia is arguably the strongest region, and has the best, breakdown and in mind for the game. Some of the best players in the world are there. If you don't think it's the top region or not, it doesn't matter. It's one of the top regions, right? So seeing what they play and what they did is a very good example of kind of where the meta is at. And looking, at the Australians Nationals, this is the breakdown for day 2: 8 Briar, 6 Chain, 3 Oldheim, 2 Katsu, and then 5 other heroes were also displayed. But 4 heroes have multiples in day 2, which is pretty good, right? And then if you look, that's their day 2 stats. And if you look at their top 8, they had a Viscerai, right? They had a Oldheim. They had what? 1, 2, 2 Briars, 3 Chain, and a Katsu. So they had 5 heroes in the top 8, right? 5 heroes in the top 8. And the most was 3 of Chain, right? And then 1 Katsu made it, 2 Briar made it, and then an Oldheim Viscerai. And in that, the Oldheim and the Viscerai were the ones who made the grand final. So really, like, the non-aggro based decks, an OTK Viscerai that Hayden Dale, or like OTK mid range, he could go one way or the other. The Hayden Dale piloted, and then like a severe control Oldheim made the final over all these aggro decks. And then you look at New Zealand, they had even more. Like, New Zealand had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 heroes that had multiple entries in the day 2, including 4 heroes that had at least 3. Briar obviously led the pack, but Prism was really popular, Bravo was really popular, Oldheim was really popular. And then if you look at the New Zealand top 8, they had Prism, Oldheim, Viscerai, Briar, Bravo, another Prism, another Oldheim, and a Chain. So they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 heroes in the top 8, if I'm reading that right. Viscerai, Briar, Bravo, Prism, Oldheim, and Chain. Yeah, so 6. So in 2 top 8s, you had a 5 hero meta and a 6 hero meta. To me, that shows a healthy game. And like we said at the beginning of the video, this showed these 2 tournaments, these 2 national tournaments, in one of the top regions in the world. It had the Briar errata in place, but not the bans in place. And I think that this is also going to show. I think it was Terry Patel, and I think he was on the Instant Speed podcast. He had some really good points. Definitely check that podcast out. One of the best podcasts in Flesh Blood. I love their work. He was talking about how Plunder Run shouldn't have been banned because it basically was one of the few tools that high aggro matchups have against the Oldheim and the severe control matchups. And without it, it's going to be really hard to, punch through some of these high control matchups. And I honestly agree with him. And I think that this layout shows that. Um, you had 5 heroes in one top eight and 6 heroes in another top eight, you know. And so the question is now, where do we go from here? And at the end of the day, I'm just a player, right? And I'm a normal player at that, not even a pro or anything crazy. Um, the one thing I will say is it would be interesting to see if LSS takes a look at this in the future. Maybe not immediate because they're not going to just unban something they just banned. But I'd say a year down the road, 6 months down the road, you might see the banned cards be unbanned from play once things start to clear up, because this shows right here, like, this is a pretty healthy meta. You know what I mean? Like 6 heroes in the top eight. I mean, if you just told somebody like, hey, the state of Flesh and Blood right now is 6 heroes just made a top eight, they would tell you like, wow, that's perfect. That's a healthy meta. That shows like that there's different heroes you can play in that are viable. So, I'm not trying to be negative. If the cards stay banned, they stay banned, right? You pivot like any good player. But I think that this shows that we didn't have to, we probably overshot a little bit on what needed to be banned and what not. And a lot of people are saying the LSS is kind of catering to the demands of the public. Like people are just getting annoyed with aggro bans. I'll tell you right now that final, as much as I love Hayden Dale, and I love that Oldheim player and Roy, both fantastic players. Watch multiple of their matches on the Fluke and Box YouTube channel. That was not the most boring. That was a very boring match to watch. Nobody even attacked with a card until turn 5 or 6. Like, I understand that was Oldheim is trying to let Hayden kind of brick a hand, and I understand like the meta game of it. As a player, it made sense, but as a viewer, not fun at all to watch. Not fun. There needs to be an aggro based meta, and with that plunder run ban, and with them literally nerfing Briar into the dirt, there's really no way for them to. There's really hardly any way for aggro decks to consistently match up against these high control decks. And the thing is, Prism won one national and Viscerai won the other. And in both finals, there was no Briar and no aggro deck. One final had a Aura Prism and a control Oldheim, and the other one had another control Oldheim and a OTK mid range Viscerai. So, you know, I just don't think those bans are needed. Again, this is not meant to be negative. This is meant to just look at the stats, right? Like what the stats looked like without the bans and a slight Briar errata. Where do we go from here? Again, they might unban the cards sometime in the future. Maybe they don't unban the cards. Either way, the game's going to be fine. To be solid. It's just really interesting. It's really cool to see this of showing like, maybe they should have waited on the bans. That's the last thing I'll say in this video is maybe they should have waited on the bans. Maybe they should have just done the Briar errata and tested it and said like, okay, we're just going to errata Briar's ability, put it at a reasonable level like the other two Tales of Aria abilities are, and see what happens. And then seeing how these games kind of went out, and then I guarantee the spread would have happened. They would have been like, okay, maybe we don't need to ban anything. 6 heroes in the top eight. Let's let Briar get to the living legend if she gets there, and if not, then no worries. Yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on it. I think looking back on it, they probably shouldn't have banned everything, but at the end of the day, like, still gonna play decks I love, still gonna love the game and continue with it on. It was awesome watching these two tournaments go on. I hope they put up VOD so we can watch prior matches, because I didn't catch every match being in the US on US time. It was a little hard. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on it. Let me know what your thoughts are on like the state of the meta, you know, with just the errata and no bans. Let me know if you think the bans are really going to affect it. We still have Everfest, which could completely change everything. You don't know. So I'm really excited for the new set, really excited to see what it does. And just overall, I guess the last takeaway you could say is Runeblade did really well, right? Because Runeblade had, 2, 4, 10, 18 entries in the top and day twos. So it was a lot, but overall, really good, really excited for the new season. Just kind of cool to kind of look at this and see how things could have maybe panned out if they would have been a little bit more patient on the bans. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are. If you like the content, leave a like, comment, subscribe. If not, no worries at all. Definitely open to criticism. If not me, go to another Flesh and Blood creator. Leave a like, comment, subscribe on their stuff so we can get more people seeing this game, especially going into this new year. Flesh and Blood had such an amazing year last year, and if we can get it in even more people's hands, I'm gonna do a couple like intro, like what you should buy starting out in Flesh and Blood probably tomorrow. So let me just think about that as well. But yeah, I'll catch y'all next time on TCG Talk. I hope y'all have a great rest of your week and a good time playing Flesh and Blood. And yeah, I'll talk to y'all later. Thank y'all so much.